Ever stop and think how something, digital, like cryptocurrency, something that just exists online, could actually have a real, like, physical environmental cost here on Earth?
Well, that's exactly what we're doing today. We're diving deep into the environmental footprint of crypto mining, especially Bitcoin. And we want to get past just the energy use, really explore the wider impacts of this, well, booming industry.
That's right. Yeah, we've gathered quite a bit of current research, different articles for this deep dive. The idea is really to give you a quick handle on the main findings, what really stands out in this whole complex area.
And I think for a lot of people, me too, the first real kind of whoa moment is just the sheer amount of energy a Bitcoin uses. Our sources are estimating, by 2025, maybe 150 to 169 terawatt hours every year. Which, to give you a sense of that, that's like powering all of Poland or Argentina.
It's massive. And what's really striking is how that energy use then translates pretty directly into a huge carbon footprint. We're talking roughly 98 million metric tons of co-euros annually.
Wow.
Which, puts it in the same league as a whole country, like Qatar. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? How could something so new have such an old-school environmental problem?
It really does. So our mission today isn't just about the big energy numbers and the CO2.
Right.
We also need to look at the other environmental costs. And crucially, what's actually being done, if anything, to make this more sustainable.
Okay, let's unpack this. So, we know about the massive energy thirst, the carbon emissions. That's kind of the headline. But what else? What are the maybe less obvious environmental hits we need to think about with crypto mining?
Well, it's definitely not just about carbon emissions floating off somewhere. A lot of these big mining operations, they actually pump out significant amounts of fine particulate matter, air pollution, specifically PM 2.5. These are tiny particles, maybe from the power plants feeding the mines, maybe just dust. But they get deep into your lungs, even your bloodstream.
Okay, so direct health impacts then.
Absolutely. They're linked to really serious stuff, cancer, heart problems, even dementia. And this is affecting potentially millions of people who live near these mining sites.
That's a really important point. It's not just global. It's hitting local communities directly.
Yeah.
Okay, what about water? That seems unexpected for digital money.
It does, doesn't it? But you're right to ask. These places, these mining farms, they need enormous amounts of water, mostly for cooling all that computer hardware running constantly.
Makes sense.
And if that water isn't managed well, or if it gets too warm before it's discharged, it can really mess up local rivers, lakes, ecosystems. Actually, the water footprint for Bitcoin mining, it's now getting close to the total annual water use of, like, Switzerland.
The whole country.
The whole country. It's a surprising comparison, isn't it?
That scale is just... It's hard to wrap your head around. An entire country's water use for cooling hardware. And thinking about that hardware, it's super specialized, right? And technology moves so fast, I'm guessing there's a big electronic waste issue brewing too.
Oh, absolutely. A huge one. You've got these specialized chips, the ASICs, designed only for mining. And powerful graphics cards, GPUs, like in gaming PCs. But the tech advances so quickly, new mining rigs come out all the time, making the older ones pretty much useless, obsolete.
Right.
So you end up with these growing mountains of e-waste. And the problem there is they can leak toxic stuff, heavy metals, hazardous chemicals into the soil and water. It's a serious long-term threat. It's almost like, the digital gold rush creates its own kind of ghost towns, but instead of old mine shafts, it's piles of circuit boards.
Something else that jumped out at me from the research was, noise pollution. How does that even fit in?
Yeah, it's easy to overlook, but it's a massive quality of life problem for people living nearby these facilities. Think about it. Rows and rows of computers, all needing huge cooling fans running 24/7. It creates this constant, really loud drone or hum.
Living next to a factory.
Or worse, sometimes. We've seen numerous lawsuits, communities demanding quieter tech or better sound barriers. Imagine trying to live next to something that sounds like a jet engine that never turns off. You start to get the picture.
Okay, so the impact side is pretty broad then. Air pollution, water strain, health risks, e-waste, even noise. It's a lot. But is the industry just ignoring this? Or are there real efforts being made to clean things up? What are the paths towards sustainability here?
There are definitely efforts. One big push is towards renewable energy sources. You see some miners actively investing in hydro, wind, solar, or buying power directly from renewable projects to cut their carbon footprint.
Okay, that sounds promising.
It is, but It needs a lot of investment. And there's a really important catch here, something that often gets missed. Just using renewables isn't necessarily a net positive if it means that clean energy is just being diverted away from the main grid.
I see. So like taking green energy that could have powered homes or other industries.
Exactly. If you're not adding new renewable capacity specifically for the mining, you might just be shuffling things around, or even making the overall grid dirtier if fossil fuels have to pick up the slack elsewhere. It can be a zero-sum game.
That really clarifies it. It's about the overall impact, the net effect on the grid's transition, not just where one mine gets its power.
Okay, what about governments? Are they stepping in, regulating?
Yes, definitely seeing more of that globally. Responses vary, of course. Some places, like Kuwait recently, have gone for outright bans on mining.
Wow, a full ban.
Yeah. More common, though, are local rules. Specific ordinances in towns or regions trying to manage the environmental impacts, like noise or water use, within their communities. It shows there's growing awareness of these very real local consequences.
And what about the tech itself? Any breakthroughs on the horizon that could, fundamentally change the game environmentally? Yeah, there's work happening there too. Lots of investment in designing more energy-efficient mining chips, better cooling systems, trying to get more hashing power for less electricity. But maybe the biggest potential shift is exploring different ways to run these networks, moving away from Bitcoin's proof-of-work system.
Proof of work. And that's the one where computers solve puzzles, right?
Yeah.
Uses all the energy.
Exactly. The alternative gaining traction is proof of stake. Instead of computational races, network security comes from users staking or locking up their own coins as collateral. This approach could potentially slash the energy needed by, orders of magnitude. It's a fundamental change, but one the industry is seriously looking at.
So we've really covered a lot today, haven't we? The sheer scale of the environmental challenges of crypto mining, you've got the headline issues, massive energy consumption, huge carbon footprint, but also these other critical pieces. The air pollution, the PM 2.5 affecting health, the surprising water demand like Switzerland's worth, the e-waste problem, and even the noise hitting local communities. It's quite the picture.
It really is. And what stands out is how different forces are now pushing back or trying to reshape things. We talked about that shift towards renewables, but with that important caveat about where the energy comes from overall. We see governments stepping in with regulations from bans to local rules, and then there's the tech innovation trying to make hardware more efficient, and this potential big shift towards things like proof of stake. Multiple angles.
And yeah, as this whole crypto world keeps growing so fast, you can see why its environmental footprint is and will likely remain a major focus for policymakers, for communities, and environmental groups. Hopefully listening today, you've got a much clearer sense of the complex trade-offs, the challenges, but also the innovations happening behind the digital curtain.
And maybe just a final thought to leave you with, connecting this all together. We've talked about national regulations, local ordinances, but cryptocurrencies are inherently global, right? And so are environmental problems like climate change or e-waste. So looking ahead, how crucial might international cooperation become? Rather than just individual countries acting alone, could coordinated global efforts be the key to actually steering this powerful industry towards a genuinely sustainable path? Something to maybe mull over as you navigate this digital landscape.